Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the future of Imperial Assault. As you may or may not know, they have said that Imperial Assault does have a future. Its story is not over yet, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you didn't already know, there is still time left to enter to win the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. All right, guys, so at Gamma, they did an interview. Team Covenant actually did an interview with Steve Horvath, and they talked about a whole lot of things, a lot of really interesting things. And I've already kind of talked about this interview because there was a lot of light shines on a lot of future projects, and a lot of that has also been kind of delayed too, so it's very unclear as to exactly the timeline of things. But one thing we do know for sure is that FFG has plans for Imperial Assault. That they said specifically its story is not dead. They would not go into a whole lot of specifics why it hasn't seen anything lately, but one of the things we basically know is that rights are a pretty big deal, especially when it comes to Lucasfilm. Hasbro has these board game rights, and that is basically covering all of the board games. So everything from like Star Wars Risk to Star Wars Monopoly and all of that stuff, Hasbro is able to do all of that kind of exclusively. And it's very weird how FFG has some type of relationship with, specifically for like card games and miniatures games, but for board games specifically, there's a lot of strange hoops they have to jump through. And I think that's one of the problems that really led to the downfall of Imperial Assault and the creation of Star Wars Legion. Legion is not just there to compete with 40K, but also a way for them to make Star Wars miniatures. I mean, this is no small coincidence that the scale for these two games is almost identical. And I think personally, now this is a little bit of speculation, but I think that basically Hasbro kind of muscled FFG a little bit and said, listen, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and we're going to sue you or something like that. Some kind of legal business reasons, and they really never go into it specifically. But one of the interesting things that really kind of makes me think that this is, all because of those types of agreements is the fact that they said it's not going to be for a couple of years. Right? We're looking at probably 2023 or beyond is my guess for when we're going to see more Imperial Assault. The reason for that is a lot of the current agreements and the current contracts and licensing is all through 2023. And if there's going to be a change, it's probably going to happen at that point when things are up for renewal. Not just Fantasy Flight's agreements and licensing and contracts that's up for renewal, but all of the ones that Lucasfilm puts out for everybody. There's certainly the distinct possibility that they might go a different direction, and especially because Disney, who owns Lucasfilm, also owns Marvel. And if you follow Marvel games, you'll notice that Marvel has been a lot more loose. Like, look at Marvel Crisis Protocol right here. All right, Marvel's been a lot more loose with distributing game rights to a variety of publishers. You don't just have like Marvel board games just coming from one company. You've got Marvel stuff across the board. FFG has Marvel Champions, Atomic Mass Games has Crisis Protocol, but there are so many other Marvel games coming out all over the place. The OP has Thanos Rising. By the way, the OP also has Darkseid Rising, which is another board game, but it can't be sold in America or North America. You can only get them in EMEA countries, so you have to go to like Europe or something like that just to get this game or order it overseas. I could not even get a review copy of this game because I live in the United States. They couldn't even send me a review copy. So a lot of really weird stuff goes on with these licenses for Star Wars specifically. Now, there's also a lot of old agreements that from before Disney bought Star Wars that had to kind of get grandfathered in. And while I don't know specifics or exact dates, there are certain things that are like no longer canon that are still able to be reprinted and produced. For example, they still reprint Imperial Assault. Imperial Assault was one of those games that was made before the Disney purchase, and as far as the release date, it was being produced before the Disney purchase because there were certain characters in the original rule book from EU that had to get changed. Like the Royal Guard Champion wasn't always supposed to be Royal Guard Champion. And I mean, I didn't beta test or anything like that, but you just know this because from certain Gen Con stuff, you saw the demo was like reading the rule book, and it had, I think, Kira Kanos was one of the original characters, and that kind of got changed. And so we see some of these things, you know, and that could also be part of, you know, I imagine there's a whole lot of moving pieces that went into Imperial Assault and a whole lot of difficulty that went into Imperial Assault, but I think they're going to be getting it fixed. Now, what is going to happen for Imperial Assault once this timeline expires or this license renewal agreement or whatever it is happens? So whatever tomorrow holds for Imperial Assault, what can be done? Well, some people think that maybe they'll do an Imperial Assault 2.0. Not 100% sure that they might do this, but there's certainly precedent, right? They've done this with X-Wing to, you know, mixed reviews. Some people were not crazy about a second edition. Some people were singing its praises because it fixed some things. But then again, at the same time, a lot of people were like, well, they now have to buy a conversion kit. Well, they could potentially do... They also did this with Descent with second edition. They could certainly do a 2.0 that allows you to, that basically has the conversion kit included, right? A 2.0 or a second edition that allows you to use all of your stuff from Imperial Assault as is. Like it has the rules to base convert everything. So like you could even have a second edition that uses the base cards and stats on everything you've already got. It doesn't require you to buy anything else. You can just buy the 2.0 stuff. It could change the rules on how you use that, but you wouldn't have to make an extra purchase to use the stuff you already have. I personally think that's the best way to go. And I would love to hear from you guys if you guys agree with that, or if you say, no second edition at all. Don't change the rules. Don't change anything. Just make more stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff, you know, if they continue with the existing version of Imperial Assault, which they certainly may, that... there's still a few things that people want to see that didn't make it into the game, like Zuckuss and Forlom, or Yoda, for example. I know there's also some different modes of play people would like to see for the existing Imperial Assault. For example, what if you could play as heroic characters in the campaign, right? That's something I think like that was maybe a missed opportunity. If you look at where Imperial Assault is right now in the landscape of tabletop games, I feel like it shares a lot of space with Star Wars Legion if you look at the skirmish aspect of Imperial Assault, because you're both taking, you know, I want to bring Luke Skywalker and a bunch of Rebel troopers and Leia and Han up against, you know, Darth Vader and a whole bunch of stormtroopers or whatever. You like, that it's got a tabletop skirmish mode. Well, Legion does that way better, in my opinion. I think some people really, really like the skirmish mode for Imperial Assault, so I'm not trying to down on the skirmish mode for Imperial Assault. There's things I don't like about it, and there's also things I do like about it. For example, you can bring all of your heroes, together in one build. So I think Imperial Assault does that a little bit better with the skirmish mode. But that's something that Legion could easily, fix. But my point is, before I get too far off topic, I think Imperial Assault really thrives as a campaign game, right? So while it has a skirmish mode, I think Legion kind of stole its thunder as far as skirmish goes. So I think if Imperial Assault's going to have a future, I think it's going to be in that campaign type play, that narrative aspect that really none of the other games that FFG has outside of the RPG really have going for it. It would be kind of cool to see it tied in to the RPG a little bit more, like them producing more specific characters to Imperial Assault that are maybe made for the RPG that don't have to be canon characters. And that's kind of another cool thing about Imperial Assault, is that when they create, all these new expansions, they come up with all these new playable characters for you to be. Well, they're named characters, but they don't have to exist in the Star Wars canon. They can just be, unique characters just to this particular story, and there can be some tie over for that with the RPG. I think that's like a really cool way for them to kind of work two different products together. And you've already seen a lot of artwork already get shared between Imperial Assault and other things. So I think that's just a natural step forward, and I think a lot of people will be very pleased with that. Plus, it gives you extra miniatures that you can use with your RPG, so you're pulling double duty there. So I think the two basic things that they could do would basically be a second edition, or just go forward with like more campaign focused. But at the same time, if they do make a campaign focused expansion, Does it have to only be campaign? I don't think so. I think you still give some stuff that can be used in skirmish because, hey, some people want to play skirmish. They've already got all this stuff. That's one of the things I think that makes Imperial Assault such a great value for the box, because in just this core set, you get so much. You get so very, very much. You get a game that 5 people can play. You get a game that 4 people can play with the app. You get a soloable game. You also get a skirmish game with a ton of units. I mean, you don't even have to, you don't have all the expansions. You can just use the cardboard chits for like Darth Vader and you know, and all that. Well, actually, you get Darth Vader in there. But for the other heroes that come with it, you can just use the cardboard if you want. But there's just so much game packed into this. I always tell people, if you're looking just for one, if you're gonna be stuck on a desert island, this is the game that's gonna give you probably the most bang for your buck by a long shot. And so I think that's one thing it really has going for it. And hopefully that's what they bring back to the game whenever it does come back. All right, guys, I would love to hear what you guys think. I had a couple of ideas, but I want to hear your guys' ideas also. What do you think is coming next for Imperial Assault? Do you think it'll be more campaign focused? Do you think it's going to be more digitally app focused? Do you think we'll see more digital stuff or more physical product that specifically aligns to digital product? Let me know. And I want to thank you guys so much. Also, big thanks to the patrons. If you want to support this channel, there's links for Patreon and merchandise and all that stuff in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.